In the West, they are harbingers of doom and death. A dark flock of crows circles above a mist-covered field, their black wings cut across the gray sky. Below them, the earth is silent, heavy, and wounded by history. To the human eye, the image feels ominous. A crow on a stone wall, a raven on a battlefield, a black bird calling at dusk. For centuries, we have read these moments as warnings. But in the East, the same bird can mean something completely different. In Japan, the three-legged crow, yatagarasu, is a guide from heaven, a symbol linked with the sun itself. In some indigenous traditions, raven is not a demon of death, but a creator, a trickster, a bringer of light. So how did we get the crow so wrong? This is not just a story about birds. This is a story about human fear. It starts with a name. A group of crows is famously called a murder. The word feels dark, cinematic, and almost supernatural. But the crow did not choose that name. Humans did. Many poetic collective nouns came from old traditions known as terms of venery. Later writers and collectors loved dramatic labels, for animals a parliament of owls, an unkindness of ravens, a murder of crows. These names were not scientific descriptions. They were linguistic theater. They reflected human imagination more than animal reality. We looked at black feathers, harsh calls, and gathering flocks, then dressed the bird in our own nightmares. The name became a sentence, and the crow was found guilty. But the death omen has a deeper origin. For centuries, crows and ravens followed human conflict. Medieval armies marched across fields. Battles left behind bodies, broken supplies, wasted food, and exposed flesh. Crows are intelligent scavengers. They learned where humans brought destruction. Food often followed. They did not cause death. They arrived after it. They were not prophets of tragedy. They were nature's cleanup crew. But humans confused the witness with the culprit. We saw the crow near the dead and decided the bird belonged to death itself. We blamed the scavenger for the battlefield we created. That is guilt by association. The crow was not the murderer. It was the janitor after the murder. And in ecological terms, that work matters. Scavengers remove decaying material, reduce disease risk, recycle nutrients, and clean what other animals leave behind. The world needs creatures willing to eat what we refuse to touch. Death is not evil in nature. Death is part of circulation. The crow understands that better than we do. Not every culture feared this intelligence. In Norse mythology, Odin had two ravens, Huginn and Muninn. Their names mean thought and memory. Every day, they flew across the world and returned to whisper knowledge into the ear of the god. For the Vikings, These blackbirds were not curses. They were intelligence with wings. Eyes in the sky. Messengers of wisdom. To have a raven near you was not automatically a sign of doom. It could mean watchfulness, knowledge, and divine awareness. The bird that Western superstition later feared was, in another worldview, the ultimate intellectual partner. Thought flies forward. Memory returns. Together, they create wisdom. Then came the stigma of blackness. In much of Western folklore, black animals became linked with witchcraft, night, demons, bad luck, and hidden danger. Black cats, black dogs, ravens, crows all were pulled into the symbolic gravity of fear. The crow's plumage became a cloak for human imagination. But black is not evil. Black feathers are not empty. Under light, they shimmer with hidden purples, greens, blues, and oil-slick iridescence. The crow is not colorless. It is carrying secret color inside darkness. Again, the problem is not the bird. The problem is the story we project onto it. Across the world, the crow and raven take on far richer meanings. In many Native American traditions, raven is a creator and transformer, sometimes the one who brings light into the world. In Japanese mythology, Yatagarasu is a heavenly guide, a solarbirt, a symbol of direction and divine intervention. Omen in one place, guide in another, monster in one story, creator in another. That contrast reveals the truth. The crow is not one symbol. It is a mirror. It reflects the fears, beliefs, and imagination of the culture looking at it. Even in Western tradition, the picture is not purely dark. Ravens appear in biblical stories, including the ravens that feed Elijah. In another tradition, the raven is the first bird released from Noah's Ark. Yet the dove became the symbol of peace, while the raven was often remembered as restless, dark, or failed. Why? Because humans choose which parts of a story become sacred, and which parts become suspicious. Literature made the shadows stronger. Edgar Allan Poe's Raven did not create the bird's dark reputation, but it cemented it in the Western imagination. The word nevermore turned the raven into a symbol of grief, memory, and irreversible loss. Powerful art can shape how generations see nature. But art is not biology. A crow calling from a tree is not quoting poetry. It is communicating, warning, bonding, or defending territory. The modern crow is not a supernatural villain. It is a highly intelligent neighbor. It recognizes faces. It remembers threats. It warns its group. It teaches young birds. It solves problems. It adapts to cities, farms, forests, and suburbs. It watches us with an intense, analytical gaze. And that gaze is part of the messenger phenomenon. When a crow looks directly at you, it does not feel like a chicken looking at you. It feels deliberate, personal, almost human. The crow tilts its head, studies your face, reacts to your movement, and seems to evaluate your intention. That kind of attention makes us project meaning. We feel seen. And when humans feel seen by an animal, we often turn the moment into a message. Maybe it is spiritual. Maybe it is psychological. Maybe it is both. The crow's intelligence gives its presence emotional weight. A bird becomes a messenger because it behaves like a mind. But modern superstitions still follow them. 1 for sorrow, 2 for mirth. We count crows and pretend they can predict our luck. 1 bird becomes sadness. 2 become joy. A flock becomes a warning. A call becomes fate. But the crow is not controlling your future. It is living its own. And its real role is often helpful. Crows eat insects, carrion, small pests, fruit, grains, eggs, and scraps. They help clean ecosystems. They disperse seeds. They alert other animals to danger. They survive in damaged landscapes and reveal how flexible intelligence can be. They are not symbols of environmental collapse. They are often survivors within it. Sometimes guardians. Sometimes opportunists. Always misunderstood. The scarecrow itself tells the story of our relationship with them. We build human-shaped figures in fields to frighten crows away, because they are clever enough to threaten our crops and clever enough to eventually recognize a fate. The scarecrow is not proof that crows are evil. It is proof that crows are smart. They forced humans to build a psychological weapon, and then many of them learned to ignore it. That is the crow's gift perspective. It asks us to examine the stories we inherit. Are we seeing the bird? Or are we seeing our fear? Are we watching nature? Or are we watching mythology projected onto feathers? A bird is just a bird until we project our fears onto it. But a bird is also never just a bird when we finally understand it. The crow is scavenger, parent, partner, trickster, problem solver, seed spreader, alarm system, urban survivor, and cultural mirror. It is not darkness. It is adaptation dressed in black. So maybe it is time to rewrite the dictionary. Instead of a murder of crows, what if we said a wisdom of crows? A curiosity of crows. A conference of crows. Because when they gather, they are not gathering to curse us. They are exchanging information, defending territory, watching for danger, playing, learning, and surviving together. They are not omens of doom. They are evidence of intelligence. The final verdict is not omen or guardian. The answer depends on us. If we look with fear, we will see a monster. If we look with curiosity, we will see one of the most fascinating minds in the animal kingdom. We have spent centuries fearing a bird that was only trying to live beside us. Now it is time to unlearn the fear. The crow flies toward the rising sun. The myth dissolves. The real bird remains. Rewrite the myth.